That's not the field.
Believe that. That's
why you would think you could take that.
I didn't know. I gotta be honest. I didn't know. But I can delete this right here for you.
Damage is done, my friend.
No, it isn't, because we deleted it.
Once again, it's deleted.
22 yards line, 29 yards on the punt.
I can't get that.
Return 29 yards.
There's no way I can get that footage back. I'm being honest with you. And I don't have a computer to even put it that way. Once this card's, that's it.
Yeah, I don't see the advance scout in any of this video they're shooting.
That line, the damage is done, my friend. Doesn't that sound like the last line of a Law & Order episode, and then they go to break and he's cooked? What was your reaction to all of this, Nick?
Well, you got him dead to rights, and you see why Cincinnati was so mad. Cincinnati knew they had him, and they just wanted the world to be able to see. If that video was a wide shot of the field, it's still against the rules, but at least you have some wiggle room as far as deniability. It is exactly what you are prohibited from taping because they don't want you to be able to do this. So in on the coaches, out to the field, back in on the coaches. And listening to this again, this is probably the 7th time I've now heard it. Each time something new pops in my head, and this time it was, so I'm to believe the dude that just happened to be working Bengals security in the press box knew this obscure rule that the dude who was sent to film didn't? Because he knows you can't do this. And I also, when you listen to this, believe that the 18-year veteran with the Patriots, at least according to the statement, he's been with them 18 years.
Yeah, not his first time.
That he knows as well, which is why you hear the videographer say, I'll just delete all my work. That was not, it wasn't Troy Vincent from the NFL who's in the press box and this is some dude who works for the Bengals telling you, you can't do this. And if you think he's wrong, if you don't think you're doing anything wrong, you say, okay, well, I did it. Email somebody. I don't answer to you. You know what I mean? I answer to my bosses. This is what I was sent here to get. To me, unless you're like, oh, no. And the Patriots in their initial statement, Canty, make a point to say our video crew included independent contractors. This guy who released a statement, who says he's been with the organization for 18 years, thanks to the magic of the internet, you see that as early as 2012, he was doing videos with the cheerleaders. In 2016, Richard Deitch wrote about him directing Belichick's TV show. If anyone should know the rules of the operation, it would be this senior of an employee. I don't see any way around that.
No, there's no way around it, and you're absolutely right. They got caught red-handed. I mean, in a situation like that, if you offer to delete the footage, then clearly you know that you're doing something wrong. You're aware of it. But this is what the Patriots do. They're habitual line steppers. Somewhere Charlie Murphy is shaking his head because here we go again. It's a situation back in 2007. You had Spygate. They got Doc draft picks. They got a fine, and it was the head coach faced discipline again in 2014 with Deflategate. So it's always something with the Patriots, and a lot of people around football will say, well, what's the big deal? They're just stealing signals. I mean, how much can you really get from that? Well, I mean, if they didn't think that they were getting a competitive advantage, then they wouldn't be doing it. I mean, there's always something to it when these teams are going out there and doing something, just like when the Atlanta Falcons were pumping in crowd noise, just like when the Cleveland Browns were on the cell phones from the press box. It happens because these teams think it will help them with winning. So this is another situation with the Patriots, and I think Roger Goodell and the NFL have to step up and make a statement, because clearly the disciplines that they've imposed on this organization in the past haven't deterred them from doing this.
Nope.
They're so busted. They really are. To the point of what their excuse was, this may be the best documentary ever created, because they're doing this on the advanced scout, right? And if you go back, Seth Wickersham wrote a piece in 2015, and it said that the advanced scout's job was to go to opponent stadiums and to take video specifically of the sidelines and create files based on substitutions, signals, anything they could use to their advantage. So from that standpoint, this documentary might be the best thing ever created. Give us an inside look at what really goes on. You can't buy any of their excuses. And it's just, and I get why, you know, if you're not a Patriots fan, you're like, are you kidding me? But to what you said, it is in their DNA. They are constantly, and I don't know if I have that much of a problem with it because it probably does happen. Other teams probably do it. But the NFL has to crack down and has to do something and send a message that says, you know what? You can't continue this culture of towing that line and crossing it one too many times.
Here's the thing on the argument of other teams do it. Because I feel like that's an argument at times, and I'll be careful on mixing metaphors. If someone gets, someone who gets a DUI, if people say, well, a lot of people, they shouldn't, but they drink and drive. But if someone has 3, A, you say they have a problem, and B, you say that probably means you drink and drive 300 times.
You just got caught.
So if other teams are doing it, but we don't know about it, it would mean a lot of these types of violations go on without being caught, that you can get by. What does it mean if you have been caught 3 times? What does it mean that in between Spygate and Deflategate, what were you doing? In between Deflategate and now, what were you doing? If the brazenness of it is, I'm just going to film, and if they ask me, I'm going to use the exact excuse Seth Wickersham says they were told to use, which is I'm doing a team television show. And Canty, I quoted you earlier on this. Who's the quote, if you're either teaching it or you're allowing it?
Oh, that's Bill Parcells.
Okay, that's what I thought. And you use that all the time. Parcells was your coach, but he was also Belichick's mentor, right?
Yep.
If Belichick is not teaching this type of action, he's certainly allowing it within the organization that he has more control of than any other individual non-owner in all of sports, right? Is that fair?
That's fair.
And so I don't know what the workaround, the defense of the Patriots is at this point.
Well, there is no workaround. And to Danny's point, there are other teams that are doing it. I know that for a fact. But, I mean, you're trying to differentiate what level are they doing it at. It's kind of like the Houston Astros and their sign stealing and them incorporating technology. Sign stealing has been around since the beginning of baseball. But when you have club employees using the video camera in center field to send signs back to a monitor that's behind the dugout, clearly you've taken it to another level. And it feels like the Patriots have taken cheating to another level in the National Football League. And that's why I say Roger Goodell has to show that the NFL will not tolerate this, because...
How do you think he's going to do that?
Well, he's got to impose discipline, and it's got to be something far more than what's already happened. They've already had a first-round draft pick taken from them. They had the club fined $500,000.
Belichick
was fined $250,000 during Spygate. But they've got to do something beyond that right now, because that has shown that that's not enough of a deterrent to keep them from doing it. And in this era of the National Football League, where the officiating has been brought into question and you have the emergence of legalized gambling in various states, I think the NFL has to make sure that they make a statement about the integrity of the game, because all of the issues with the Patriots and their cheating scandals, that directly affects the integrity of the game. So I think that becomes the biggest part of this in terms of why Roger Goodell has to drop the hammer on the Pats.
When you were playing, you played in the NFL a long time. Did you ever play on a team that was paranoid that teams were cheating out or trying to steal stuff from you?
Yes, I did. I did.
So what, like...
But those organizations also did things to try to get a competitive advantage.
Right, because I go back when I was on the Giants, my second year in the league, maybe my rookie year, Dan Reeves was the coach. And we used to practice out there, and the practice field was outside in the parking lot.
I know where he's going.
So we'd practice outside in the parking lot of the Meadowlands at the time. And there was a hotel across Route 3, the Sheraton Meadowlands, right? And it was like a 12-story hotel. And so we were like in week 4, and it was definitely an NFC East opponent, but I can't remember which opponent it was. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous day outside. We'd always practice outside in the practice field. And all of a sudden, we're going inside. And I'm like, well, why aren't we going outside? It's 70 degrees out. It's sunny. Why aren't we going out there? And everybody's like, oh, Dan's just being paranoid. Dan Reeves being paranoid.
Because
I'm like,
of what? Get it from
he thought he was convinced that there was somebody that had had reserved a room in the hotel and was shooting our practices from outside. So we went inside. And at the time, I remember thinking, this guy's nuts. Like, who would do this? Now, after hearing all of these different reports surface, I'm like, well, yeah, teams probably were. And that's the type of environment that teams are always looking for an edge and trying to find out that little thing. Games are decided by one or two plays, and if you can find something that makes a difference, they're going to try to do it.
It's just a coincidence that the Patriots seem to be the one that get caught, because there's also a discrepancy, and you went over this earlier, and all in the statement that the Patriots made right after it happened, where they called this an independent contractor, and then the statement that this videographer himself made, and you wonder if there's another statement that's going to come out that's going to somehow...
Well, the Patriots' original statement, to me, they set off multiple alarm bells. One was that Belichick commented about this immediately.
Yeah.
To me, speaks to the fact that he knew this could be an issue, even if he did not orchestrate this specific incident. The Patriots' initial statement saying, we know we broke the rules. They at no point in their initial statement do they say they didn't break the rules, probably because they knew what was on this footage. But then they also say that our video crew, which included independent contractors who shot the video, I think they were hoping that the narrative could be said, listen, this is some part-time guy who's in on the weekend, who doesn't really know what he's doing. And then, independent of the Patriots, the person who's been suspended now for the Patriots team, the guy, David Mondillo, who, according to the internet, is the supervising producer for the New England Revolution, which Robert Kraft owns.
Right.
He says he's been with the organization for 18 years. We know he used to direct Belichick's TV show. He's been there for since predating the first scandal, and him to say that he's the person involved, that ain't no independent contractor.
Not at all.
And that is, again, someone that knows their history and the rules. The average Pats fan, I believe, knows. There's something with filming you're not allowed to do with the other team. I'm not certain. If someone had won a contest and got to do this job for a day, probably the one thing they would know is, I don't know what I'm allowed to shoot, but I don't think it can be the other team. I don't know. The Bengals security knew.
Yep.
And so... And then when he's caught, he's like, I'll just erase all of it. Man, I know what that is. You ever been as a kid caught stealing and you tell the person, I'll put it back?
Yeah.
If it's yours, just say, believe you, I came here with it.
Right.
He offered to go put it back on the shelves. No, you got to go to that office in the basement, wait for the cops to show up, and your parents are going to be real disappointed in you.
All right.
Busted.